Introducing the shorter set. Watch and create your own short videos.
Now you can play Fortnite mobile version easily using an app called TapTap. You can now play loads of mobile games like Fortnite Mobile, Apex Legends Mobile, and COD Mobile, and like Fortnite Mobile, Apex Legends Mobile, and COD.
Okay, dear? Ready to sleep? It's cold in here.
Fine. It was hot yesterday.
Yeah.
Some social media puts all your information out in the street. Reddit lets you overshare, but never reveal your name, or the reverse, or somewhere in between, or whatever.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the only show that can make a 15-minute video from 28 seconds of content. Actually, judging based on the length of the script, I believe it's 4 to 18.5 minutes. Yes. You know what? That's not an exaggeration either. Today's topic is only 28 seconds of content currently available as I write this. That's gotta be a new record for us, right? Theory of the least information possible. But remember, it's quality over quantity. You can do a lot in 28 seconds, which is exactly what we're about to find out. But first, a bit of backstory. As you're all well aware by now, there have been a lot of content creators, both big and small, that have been inspired to make their own ARGs over the years. And recently, a new challenger appeared. Someone that you may be familiar with. Let me give you a hint. He's a Minecrafter. He's one of the massive creators from the Dream SMP. Wears glasses, and he's rocking an iconic Gen Z haircut. I'm talking, of course, about... No, Wilbur, no! Bad Wilbur, no! It's not about you. Get out of here, Wilbur. Not every Minecrafter let ARG is about you. Weird, stupid cars. Get out of here. No, today's theory is about Ranboo. Glad I decided to look that one up. And his new series, Generation Loss. Now, seeing Ranboo take on an ARG shouldn't be that big of a surprise to anyone familiar with his work before on the Dream SMP. Once he joined the server, he quickly became a fan favorite thanks to his clever backstory involving memory loss, memory journals, and his immediately iconic Ender walks. His Enderman hat takes over his body temporarily. He even launched an entire ARG focusing around Ender walking back in early 2021. Looking back, guys, you guys actually hit me up a fair bit on Twitter to cover it. Follow me at MattCatGT, by the way, if you want to do that. Even though I tend not to respond, I'm always looking at the stuff you said because you have great ideas. But in this case, we didn't wind up doing it because why didn't I end up doing it? Because I do it back then. I mean, you're busy because you're starting to see planning, but I was apparently busy talking about the KFC console, GameStop stock, and Logan Paul. So instead of covering the Minecraft ARG, the most popular Disney gaming at the time, I covered the stock market and YouTuber boxing. Not a great one. Yeah, choices were made, but hey, at least the KFC console was streaming. It's well versed in cryptic storytelling in ARGs. And unlike our coverage of the Wilbur Suck ARG, we're not 3 years late this time. Right now, there's only one video available, released about a month ago. For once, we are on the cutting edge, so strap in, theorists, because we're about to go down a rabbit hole of government conspiracy, media control, and manipulation of the mind, all in 28 seconds. Interrupt your regularly scheduled theory for an important announcement. Again, this is not a test. New theoryware is available now. Conspiracy collection. Do you have a theory? Let people know with this Sky Launchers t-shirt. You have a love for emergency alerts just like this one? Wear one on your chest with this super soft raglan. Want both of them together? Save money by buying the Conspiracy bundle. Yes, we are very proud of that fun. Or you can control the airways for yourself with our emergency alert hoodie. Use the airways to spread your own message. Message of I look. Also, notice that zipper pocket detail here on the sleeve, the green strap and the D-ring on the pocket. Yep, definitely requested those as part of the design myself. I think it adds like full electric style. Pretty proud of them. And this is your final warning that our elite lava lamp is nearly sold out. There's only 100 left of the 2,000 that was produced. So if dust yours today before you miss a chance, head on over to square.com and become part of the conspiracy today. We now rejoin your regularly scheduled programming already in progress. Although the first video of Generation Loss was just posted on May 1st of 2022, it was first announced by Ranboo all the way back in July of 2021 to his name. As he said on his Discord, quote, currently thinking about two titles, Generation Loss or The Lost Field Incident #1. Obviously the first option, but remember the second one. What's going to come into play later? Now, why would the title be important? What exactly is meant by Generation Loss? Well, basically, Generation Loss is the loss of quality that happens each time something gets copy. Think about it like making Xerox copies at a copy machine. The first one is pretty clear, but if you make a copy of the copy, the quality devolves. If you continue to make more and more copies, more and more details get lost and things start to degrade. And this seems to be the exact definition that Rodham intended, as he clarified again on his Discord, quote, basically, you know how VHS tapes never record the original footage super correctly? There are always slight impurities in each recording copy. What generation loss is when each imperfection is exaggerated for each copy until you get some really cool distortion effects. And for a great example, here's a Nesquik commercial in its first generation copy, and here it is 9 generations later. Nothing changed, it was just a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. But you see how information gets lost and distorted over time. Also, so, it was today at o'clock when I realized that I am truly the granddad of YouTube. I bet so many of you are only familiar with VHS tape effects in YouTube videos or indie horror games at this point. Man, I'm all. Anyway, based on the name alone, we know that this series is going to focus on the idea of degradation of information over time. More something is copied and passed on, more distortion and messed up it gets. Gotta say, we're already off to an intriguing start. We haven't even watched the video yet. Which means it's probably time to do just that. As the video begins, we see an old CRT TV displaying static until words begin to flash. Don't hide, don't escape, don't talk, don't conform. We then get 5 censored images that flash past the screen multiple times in rapid succession before devolving back into static. The final lines, word the history, find the founder. The word killed flashes up briefly over the word find, and the alternate text of kill the founder. It's short, but it's dense, which is exactly the way to kick off something like this. So let's figure out what's going on, starting with the 5 mysterious images. In the second image, we can see a large group with the generation loss symbol in red on the back wall. A number of people with blacked out faces sit at desks around the room. One person has a red square blocking their face. The fact that both the square and the symbol are in red when everything else we see is in black and white is telling us that there's a connection between these two things. It seems to suggest that the person with their face covered in red is working for whatever generation loss is. In which case, I needed to see what was behind that big red block. So I started reverse image searching and found that this is a photo from the University of Leipzig in Germany. More specifically, the very first deadly psychology lab founded in 1879 by the father of experimental psychology, Wilhelm Wundt. I have to admit, I wasn't able to figure out who exactly commanded this face moved out red was, but that's not really surprising. It's a university lab. Wundt would have had many students come and go through the years. Some of the students did go on to become psychologists in their own right, but couldn't trace any of them back to the specific image. The good news is, though, I'm not exactly sure it matters who the person is. It's actually about the fact that this person is studying under Wilhelm Wundt in the first place. One of Wundt's big studies was on the idea of generation effects on memory. Something tells me we might be on the right track. Generation effects are, quote, the advantage in memory for information that's produced and generated by the participant as opposed to another person. Basically, the idea that if you form your own idea or memory, you're more likely to remember it accurately as opposed to a memory made by someone else and then told to you. Lines up pretty darn nicely with the theme of the series, generation loss, the distortion of memory across time. It also begins to connect the dots when it comes to the text at the end of the video. Learn the history. Maybe people are forgetting the real history of this world, and then only remembering what they've been told, a distorted version of the truth. Generation over generation, history is being forgotten. Therefore, generation. That may seem like I'm clutching at straws for an answer, but the fourth picture ties into the narrative too. It's a picture of a classroom from the 1940s with the generation loss symbol on the chalkboard, and the teacher's face blocked out in red, similar to the last image. I reverse image searched again, and it led me to the Getty images. And Getty wasn't giving me a whole lot of information about this photo other than it's a London classroom from 1947. So I kept digging around for uses of the image. Not a whole lot. I actually struggled to find this image anywhere across the internet except for one article from a liberal news site in the United Kingdom called The Independent. But what's more important is the subject of the article. Parents complaining about a new curriculum being implemented into UK schools. One specifically focused on rote memorization of facts rather than critical thinking and problem solving. To quote from the article, the new methodology was going to focus on memorizing, quote, endless lists of spelling, facts, and rules, which will not develop children's ability to think, including problem solving, critical understanding, and creativity. In short, the problem with this new proposed curriculum was that people were being told what they should learn, what they should remember, and not thinking for themselves. The idea that memory is being dictated by someone else, an external force. So again, just like with the previous photo, we see the recurring theme of memory and control, how memories get inserted into our heads and how they stick there. This may be me interpreting the picture a bit too literally, but in the edited version of the photo, the chalkboard has the generation loss symbol on it. They're teaching the children about this regime, whatever this altered history of facts are. These kids are being raised to believe that truth. not develop critical thinking for themselves to find the facts on their own. The Independent isn't the only newspaper that seems to have importance in this mystery either. The second one comes from Visage, an old painting with the face once again censored by a red square. This was a painting of Richard Potter, a British businessman turned politician and writer for one of Britain's biggest newspapers, The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper was actually born out of a desire to push the liberal ideas of a group called the Little Circle, a group with good old Richard Potter as a founding member. This group's main objective was to get fair representation in government, which at the time was controlled by an elite few due to corruption in the English Parliament. In fact, government corruption was such a big issue in this era that on August 16, 1819, a crowd gathered in St. Peter's Field in Manchester, England to protest for parliamentary reform. To stop the protesters, the Royal Cavalry charged into the crowd and ultimately killed 15 people. This horrible event would come to be known as the Peterloo Massacre. Making matters worse, after this event, the government passed the Sixth Act, a move that was aimed at suppressing any meetings about radical reform. Now, why would any of this matter? Well, the place where that massacre happened, St. Peter's Field, it doesn't exist anymore. It's now paved over and has been rebranded as St. Peter's Square. Remember that other title Ronbu was considering for the ARG, Lost Field Incident number 1? Considering that St. Peter's Field, where the whole Peterloo Massacre occurred, is now gone, I suppose you could call that a Lost Field Incident. But even more interesting, when the people of the UK wanted recognition of what happened on the site, the first plaque that the government issued read as follows, quote, an assembly of around 60,000 people. Their subsequent dispersal by the military is remembered as Peterloo. They called charging in protesters and killing 15 of them a dispersal. Are you seeing the connections now? Another image referencing the manipulation of people's memories of events that have happened. The plaque is exactly that. And the fact that the government changed the laws to stop people like Richard Potter from gathering the masses to their cause seems to match the ideas that we've been seeing so far throughout this entire video. This then starts to explain the first major
There is dimensional entity
image that we see. A man with his mouth being covered by a hand, the generation loss symbol on it. Someone being silenced by whatever generation loss is. Who this person is clearly important, because we're specifically given the initials from his pocket handkerchief. Looks to be TZ or Jay-Z. Not Jay-Z, international rap superstar, though that would be an unexpected twist. No, instead, after digging through a bunch of United Kingdom-based newspaper history, I think it might be referencing journalist Tony Zapponi, TZ. Tony has been a contributor to The Guardian in the past, but was mostly known as a photographer. In fact, his pictures of former President John F. Kennedy taken 4 days before the JFK assassination were important pieces of evidence in that investigation. Considering that that's an event that also has its fair share of crazy theories, I wouldn't be surprised if TZ and that event were all wrapped up into this ARG. Admittedly, it's a huge stab and a half in the dark. The initials are really the only thing that I had to go off of, but honestly, it's the best I can come up with that also fit within the existing themes that I'm getting from this mystery. Regardless of who he is, though, the fact that the generation loss symbol is the one covering TZ's mouth is telling us that generation loss are the ones trying to control the narrative, and not in a good way. But importantly, the tape is telling us don't conform, like a rebel group trying to communicate with its members. Learn the history would imply that the history that people of this world know isn't the real history, but the history that's been altered. We even see this at the very end of the tape. As I mentioned before, we have the phrase find the founder, which is temporarily replaced with the new phrase kill the founder. The word kill appearing in a different red font. Someone has sabotaged the tape, and the color red connects it back to the red logo of Generation Loss. In short, this seems like it's a battle between two groups. Generation Loss, an organization or entity that's trying to silence free thinkers and control the narrative of history, and another group that stands for remembering the truth. One group seeking the truth, and another one trying to silence it or bury it with misinformation. However, that still leaves us with one final image, this one. Of course, I did a reverse image search only to find that this picture is of the one and only Mitt Romney, a Republican U.S. senator who ran for president twice. First in 2008 and again in 2012. This picture is actually from his high school yearbook. Super random, right? We have 5 photos that are supposed to represent this mystery. 4 of them are much older and have to do with psychology, uprisings around reform, education. What on earth does any of this have to do with the modern politician Mitt Romney? I wasn't particularly sure until I looked at the Generation Lost Twitter account that is. On the 14th of May, it posted an image on a screen with the number 2 on it. The caption says, "To the inauguration." That's when it hit me. This high school photo of Mitt Romney was used widely during his run for president back in 2012. The story that broke around this was that he was a rather nasty piece of work back during his high school years, bullying a fellow student relentlessly. This, along with a number of other things, became a huge smear to his presidential campaign. But on this VHS tape, the image is once again obscured by red bars, trying to stop people recognizing the face and learning where the photo came from and why. It seems to me to be another attempt to control the narrative, to distort the history, allowing Generation Lost to continue with their plans. Romney was running as the Republican candidate against Barack Obama in 2012, and we've been talking a lot about the silencing of liberal figures throughout this ARG thus far. The fact that part 2 is called the inauguration makes me wonder if this is an alternate reality situation, one where Romney's past actions are buried by Generation Lost and he is actually the president. It's a reality. Sure, I need more than 28 seconds of video to figure it out, but there is information that I would mention. Whatever happened to Generation Lost, HST, now to the present day. Before Rondo even released the first video on his Discord, he released an audio teaser. It's a recording of a phone call where someone has found a box of old VHS
Well, this is pretty new, actually. If it was like just in here like 5 years ago, I'd get it. Well, yeah, I've been playing it. I just have to figure out how to cassette tape.
Once again, making me feel old as heck. Services never have to know the story. But this teaser actually reminds me of the image that appears on the Twitter of VHS tape. Someone is investigating Generation Lost, trying to figure out what's going on, just like we are now. The story is actually following their journey. We're essentially being put in their shoes while we watch and break down these videos. On that desk, we also have the date November 4th, 1990, along with the comic strip from Malcolm Hancock's The Lumpets. Clearly, these are going to be important for the investigation, but I couldn't find any relevant information about the date or the comic. Maybe we'll find out more in future episodes. So there you have it, friends. A story of a rebel group trying to rise up and take on the Generation Lost conspiracy. I think the ideals of Richard Potter and the Blue Circle determined to teach people to open their eyes to what the government is really doing. The rise of this controlling organization, their operation of isolation and manipulation of society, and all of it tied up in an investigation from the modern day where maybe Generation Lost control. All of that from a 28-second video. A really solid start to what I expect to be a really exciting ARG. Your move, Ron Move. Part 2 is teased is coming soon. Regardless of whether I'm right or wrong, I seriously cannot wait to see what you do next. But remember, it's all just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching.
That was a flop. No. No, Itchy. No, Ollie.
Target located. Well, good job finding me. But now that you've found me, it's all over. For you, that is. I'm going to kill you now. Shall we get You're surprisingly skilled. Maybe I'll watch you for a bit. Just when I thought we had him, now we have to face a snake.
Good. I'm glad that's over. Now we can start looking for Kabuto once again.
Things are going to get even more fun now.
Good timing. Can you leave this one to me? Now's my chance.
I'm going to snatch victory.
Oh, you found me again. If this was a tracking test, you'd definitely pass. But it's about time we ended this game of hide and seek. I'll make this quick. Now then. Seriously?
Chakra scalpel!
Time to finish this.
You look like you're at the end of your rope. Are we about finished here? seriously?
Oh no!
Where the demonstration begins.
Battle start!
I'll slice you into pieces. I'll get serious. Now things are getting exciting. I was hoping for this. Oh, perhaps I had a little too much fun. Oh well, I'll step down for today.
Honestly, I would have lost back there if it hadn't been for you. What are you supposed to say in times like these? Oh yeah, thanks, right?
let's go.
I knew you could do it.